By the God's grace, we all are learning. Let's read from the chapter 1. Job chapter 1 and verse 1. We are going to read now. As we are going to read, before reading, we start with the prayer. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Father. Thank you for the day you have given us. Today we are reading the meditating and reading and receiving the instructions and receiving the knowledge from the book of Job. Teach us, Lord, even more deeper things, hidden mysteries as we are learning. We are surrendering to you. I'm surrendering to you. Lord, use us, use me for your glory. As we started the Bible study, let uh, from the beginning to the end, you take over the live service. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. I pray. Amen. Job chapter 1 and verse 1. There was a man, I'm reading from the chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and achieved evil. That means the first words it saying there was a man in the land of Uz. So there was a man. Here talking about a man. His name was Job, and he was living in the land of Uz, and that man was perfect and upright. He is a perfect, God seeing him as a perfect and as a upright person, and one that feared God. The first chapter, first word saying, there was man, he was a upright and he was a righteous man. He was a perfect man, it says, and one that feared God, and he achieved evil. That means he is not doing evil things and he is trying to avoid the evil things. Yeah, we know that something, some people don't stop doing evil things, even keeping on they doing, even they know that this is the evil thing, but still they are doing. Why? Because they are they were addicted with that, so they don't stop doing the evil things. So here there was a man, his name was Job, and he is a perfect and he is doing good things and is doing, that means he is a perfect person. He was a perfect person, and that he feared God. How many are feared God? How many are fearing God? If we see in this world, if we see nowadays, our days, we won't fear God. We are not fearing the God. Some people they are fearing God, but some people are not fear God. But here this man was upright and fearing the Lord and achieved evil. He is far from evil, so that's why he is avoid to do evil things. He is avoiding to do evil things. Like we should perfect like Job, we should do upright things and fear God and achieve the evil. So likewise is God is introducing him from chapter 1 and verse 1. Now let's go to the verse second. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. And there was a there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. 7 sons, and he had 7 sons and 3 daughters. Verse 3. His substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she asses and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. So here Bible referring to him as the greatest person of all the men of the East. So he was the greatest person. Why? Because he was the wealthiest person of his time. So when he's living that time, he was the wealthiest person and he was the greatest person all the men of the East. So he was the greatest person. He says his substance was also 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she asses and a, and a very great household. That means the servants, the household, the very great. Here you can see 1,000 people working under him, fostering his sheep, goats, and all these things. That's why it mentioned here. And a very great household. There was so many people working under him. So let's go to chapter 1 and verse 4. We are reading one by one. Chapter 1 and verse 4. Meditating one verse up to 1. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, everyone his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. So they called their children, their sons, and went and feasted in their houses. So they have their own houses. Like they there were 7 sons, 3 daughters. There was a great household, and he was a greatest person, and he was the wealthiest person. So he was the wealthiest person. That's why they have the individual houses. Like his 7 sons had 7 houses. Like 3 daughters, they had 3 houses. Like Likewise, they were having. So every day his sons went and feasted in their houses. So there is a houses. He has mentioned houses means they have their individual houses. So here the elder one had feast and giving the feast. So he invited everyone. There are six brothers and three sisters, and were came and here saying and sent and called for their three sisters to eat and to drink with them. So they were called and they were in the house of the young brother and sitting and drinking and eating, having a great feast. So here the fifth verse, and it was so when the days of their feasting were gone about, so it was. So, when the days of their feasting were gone about, so coming the end of the feast, the Job sent and sacrificed them and arose up early in the morning. The Job sent and sacrificed them and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." Thus did Job continually. So here Job is doing and sacrificing for them. And that Job sent and sacrificed them, sanctified them. Sorry, yes, Job sent and sanctified them. That means he is giving sacrifices like burnt offerings, he is giving offerings, sin offerings for his children. He is giving. Why is sacrificing every morning is going and giving burnt offerings and sin offerings? Well, because he thought in his heart, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. Every day he is doing and is going, if my sons were cursed God in their heart. He is thinking like that and giving the burnt offerings, sin offerings. Likewise, he is doing every day. So here, sixth verse. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. Here we see here the sons of God came to present themselves. Means we can call here sons of God. In the New Testament, we see sons of God who accept Jesus, those called the sons of God. But here we are seeing that angels. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. Here, what is saying, sons of God means the angels here. Here, the words are referring to us, the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. So, among them means the group of angels, and among them there was a Satan. There was a angel. His name was Satan. That means he also came with the angels, the group of angels. In seventh verse, and the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So here, what is happened? What was happened? And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered, God is asking to Satan, Where you comest, where you came from. And Satan said, I am going to and fro into the earth and walking and up and down on it. He, Satan said, I'm going up and down, and it means Satan was fell down from the heaven to earth. So now it is going and fro in the earth. That means Satan is going and running towards the earth. And now it is on the earth because it casted from the heaven. Now that's why God asking this question: Where thou comest? Where you come from? Why is asking means I was casted you out from the heaven. Now you are on the earth. So what are you doing on the earth? And Satan said, I'm just moving and going to and fro. So here, eighth verse, and the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job? Did you see my servant Job? Okay, you are going to and fro and moving and surrounding the earth and moving there and going towards and doing all these things. Okay, did you consider my servant? It was. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth? God is boasting about Job. God is talking about, God is honoring. There was none like my servant Job, and there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feared God and achieved evil. Here saying the one was upright and one was God is giving this testimony of Job, God Himself. So God only talking about Job. So let's ninth verse. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God, for not hast not thou made an hedge about him? Yes, hedge about him. Satan knows about that. So if you're fearing God, it is not a small thing. And you are achieving the evil, that is not a small thing. And you are living in upright and you are feared God and perfect. These things are not ordinary. When you do these things and living in a perfect and upright and achieving the evil and fearing God, if you do all these things, that means you are having the protection. He is saying that Satan knows that has not made an hedge about him. That means where did you put a fencing around him, the protection that has given to Job. Why means he was a prophet. The prophet means the prophet and fearing God. These all are you're thinking these all things, the small things. These are not the big thing. We think like that, but when you do upright, you are protecting yourself. Yes, you are saying, thou not thou made an hedge about him. God is protecting him. He put some fencing around him. No evil can touch him. Being upright, being perfect, it is a protection to us from God. And the Lord said, like this 9th, 10th verse, has not thou made an hedge about him and about his house and about all that he had on every side? Thou hast blessed the Lord of his works of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. His substance is increased in the land. That means devil knows you protected him. Devil only saying his words. You you put some fencings around him and you protecting him and you increasing the works of his hand and you increase the substance of his land. You're protecting him. Level to us. But put forth in hand now and touch all that he had, and he will catch thee to thy face. And saying, put all this aside and take away from every substance he had, then he will catch you. He's saying, right? He's saying to God, if you remove all these things, Job will catch you. Job will leave you and he will not worship you. He's saying. And the Lord said unto Satan, 11, but 12 was, and the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power. So, okay, I'm giving you a chance. God said, I'm giving you a chance and go ahead and put or remove all these things, but not don't touch his life. Only upon himself put not forth in hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. So God gave permission. Okay, so saying something like, "Look, devil, you will curse me if I remove all these things." I like these words. I like this book. Why? Because this is the one of the greatest books I ever read. Why? Because if you read all the books of Bible, but without the Job, some people will go back. If we If we haven't, if we get any sickness, if we get any pain, if we get any problem, we could have gone back. Why? Because if we don't see the scripture, if we don't see this book, the the book of Job in the Bible, if we don't see this book, we could have gone back to some other things. Why? Because the book of Job gives us how God uses, how sickness still is not living the God of living, God who lives. So that is the testimony of Job that he was never departed from God. Even when there was a sickness, there was a lack, there was a worse situation, but still he's holding the Lord, he's holding God. That is the greatest testimony. So because of that, this book I like. Why? Because he didn't leave God, even whatever the situation. So after that, God gave him double portion. So this is the very encouraging book. Even when we face some problems, we should be strong like Job. And there was a day when his sons and his daughter, that it was, eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. I said like elder brother. They are eating and drinking eldest brother's house, and there came a messenger unto Job. So one messenger came to him, Job, came to Job, and said, the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding beside them, and Sabines fell upon them and took them away. Yeah, they have slain the servants with the edge of this world, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So Sab- Sabines fell upon them and took them away. When the oxen, he had 5,000, thousands of oxen. So some other people came and killed the uh, killed the shepherds and took the asses, took the oxen, oxen and asses, and only one escaped along to tell thee, I escaped from there, and I only alone to tell you the word what happened. 16th verse. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven and has burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So here one another person came and said, the fire of God came from heaven and killed all the sheep. So I am the one escaped from that and to tell this all the matter. And verse 18, 17 was, while he was at speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out three bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away and slain the servants with them. edge of this world, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So he had camels, thousands of camels. So Chaldeans came and fell upon the camels and killed the servants, and they took all the camels. Right. While he was at speaking, there came also another and said, "Thy sons and their daughters were eating and drinking, while in their eldest brother's house one came from another place, is from the house, elder house, son, elder 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 son's house. So he came and said, and behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the four corners of the house, and it fell upon the young man, and they were dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So what happened? This time there was a great wind came and fell upon the house while they were eating the were the corners, and it fell upon the young man and smote the corners of the house, and it fell upon the young man, and they were dead. So the walls fell down upon the elder brother, on all the brothers who were there eating and drinking. Suddenly there was a great wind came and fell upon the house, and they were dead. 20. Then Job arose and rent his garment and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. What is doing? Is worshipped. He was worshipping God. He worshipped. The situation was worse, but still is worshipping the Lord. No one can do like Job. If you have some situation like, but you are in this, instead of worshipping, you report from God. You leave the Lord. Some people leave the Lord when this came to these situations like Job. But here Job is not departing from God and is not doing any against God, but is worshipping. See here, 21st verse. And said, naked came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. He's saying, blessed be the name of the Lord. I came naked out of my mother's womb, and I didn't brought anything, so I go naked. He said, come out from others, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, the Lord hath taken. So he's saying, everything was God gave me, and He's taken everything. Glory to be Lord. He's taking just glory to be Lord. Then Job arose and worship. 22nd verse. In all these Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. See, all these things, Job didn't sin against God. We see that he didn't sin against the Lord. So that means whatever the situations may be, but in those situations we have to be strong and worship God. This is impossible. But the man like prophet and feared God, achieved evil. The man was perfect. So these people who are perfect, who are achieved evil and feared God, who feared God, they can do, they can do. But because they feared God, they learned from God. If comes situation like that, how can handle the situation. They learn. But because the fear of the Lord is the knowledge. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. You can see it in the Proverbs. It says, beginning, the wisdom comes from the fear of the Lord. So if you're fearing the Lord, He will give you some wisdom. Then through the wisdom you can handle the situation like this. In this situation he had wisdom, so that's why he's saying like, I came naked from my mother's womb, I will return to heaven with naked. So he's saying like, that means he had wisdom, he had wisdom. Yes, why? Because he had the fear of God. If you have fear of God, you will receive wisdom of God. So that's last verse. In all these jobs, sin not. 26. So chapter 1 is finished. Now chapter 2. Again there was a day when sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to persist himself before the Lord. Present himself before the Lord. So here again one there was a meeting in the heaven. So devil also came, the a Satan also came. And the Lord said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So I'm going up and down. Satan said, God asked, where thou comest? Where you coming from? So they will say, I'm going from to and fro and walking up and down on the earth. So I'm moving and living and going to and fro in the heaven, in the earth. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feared God and eschewed evil, and still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. So even you allowed me to destroy, you allowed me to do something against to him, but still he is not leaving his integrity, he is holding his integrity. See such a man I never see on the earth. He is man perfect and upright. God is testifying him again. And Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin, yeah, all that a man had will he give for his life. He's talking about his body now. He gave him skin and good health. So he is now worshipping you. So, uh, fifth verse. But put forth in hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. Satan saying, you gave him good health. So now give one more chance that I will touch him, then touch his bone and his flesh, then he will curse in front of you. He's talking. He will curse you in front of your face if you give this chance. So, sixth verse. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, he is in thin hand, but save his life. You cannot touch his life, but touch his flesh and body. Then what happens? Seventh verse. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. So boils with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job. He went from the presence of the Lord and touched Job, and it became with all the sore boils. He was with all diseases like boils on his body over the from head to toes. He had all the boils on his body, and certain 8 was, and he took him a potsherd to scrap himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. So he couldn't bear the sickness. So the pain was great. So he took the potsherd potsherd to scrap himself. So he took potsherd and is scratching himself, and he sat among the ashes. He sat among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, Thou dost thou still retain in integrity, curse and die. So his wife saw him and said, Still you hold on to your integrity, curse God and die. What Job replied then was, But he said unto her, Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips. Even he never sinned with his lips also. He said, he replied to his wife, saying, Thou, we only receive good things from God, not evil things. Good, and all we not receive evil. Then all did not sin with his lips. Hallelujah. 11th verse. Now, when Job's three friends heard of all his evil that was come upon him, they came every one from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite and Bildad the Shuhite and Jophar the Naamanite, Amati. For they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. So there was the three friends Job had. The names, the names were Eliphaz and Bildad and Job. They came together and to mourn with him, and they saw all what happened to offend Job. They came and mourned with him, and they want to comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off and know him not, they lifted up their voice and wept, and they rent everyone his mantle and sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. So dust toward the heaven, and they sprinkled the dust toward the heaven, and sat in the ashes, and they rent the garments, and they saw the situation of Job and the grave very badly. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off and know him not, they lifted up their voice and wept. They lifted up their voice and wept, and they crying out. They rent everyone his mantle and sprinkling dust upon their heads toward heaven. So they sat down with him upon the ground, even days and even nights, and no spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great. 7 days they came, till 7 days they didn't speak any word, but because there was a great grief, they saw the situation of Job and they couldn't talk till 7 days. What a situation, what a grave. Was very great. The situation was very horrible. They lost. Job lost. His wife, his wife also saying to him, remove and leave your integrity. Lose this guy and curse this guy and go back from this guy. She also cursing him, and he lost his wealth, and he was lost his children, and also now he was sick, and his sickness was very grieving and paining. Pottership, he using the potter and pot potsherd to scrap. He's using potsherd to scratch himself. So the sickness was also very great. Is facing all these kinds and midst of these problems. Some people don't hold if they went through the situations like they don't hold on to God. What the Bible says through the book of Job, or whatever the situations we're going through, the situations are not the end. God will bring us from the situation like Job. This is the second chapter we are uh, read just now. We were read just now. After tomorrow, we will continue with third chapter. Yes. These two chapters, what God said to us means first, God only Himself will be show to Him as a perfect, as a upright, as a achiever of evil and fearing God. God Himself giving the testimony. When sometimes problems comes, if problems are comes like that, we we should be bold. And why? Because when you fear God, we learn from God, and you learn wisdom from God how to handle situation. You have to handle a situation like Job. Even his wife cursing him, but still, he didn't lose his integrity. He held on to his integrity, and even the Job's friends came and saw the situation, how worse it was. They couldn't speak till 7 days. What happened next week? We will see next chapter what happened. Thank you.